Hey everyone, Sarah Logue here, and I'm joined with Rick Beaudry, and we're talking about a fabulous new program called Sidecar Live. It's a really new, innovative program to join people right online through Zoom in amazing conversations with different hosts. So, Rick, this is like completely up my alley. I love that we're starting with even some of our senior adults and trying to get back in those conversations where we've been stuck, not able to get into retirement homes or even into some of our senior apartment buildings just to communicate. Tell me how you came up with this idea, Sidecar Live, because I'm in love with it.
Well, that's great. Well, I think it started to incubate in my mind over a year ago. I've spent a lot of time in my life around retirees, senior adults in my family, and then I was semi-retired and I was looking for something to do that was more of a passion project. And so I have a passion for bringing people together, to engaging folks in dialogue, and also understanding this growing trend towards isolation. And I think isolation was happening even prior to COVID, obviously. I mean, isolation has been a big issue in the retirement community, in the seniors community for a long time. But I think what I've recognized in starting this project is that isolation is extending way beyond retirees. I mean, we start going down to interest we're getting on this project from 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. So when I started to think about it, I thought, well, my experience is in building a global organization built around virtualization, using video to video to monitor students around the world who are writing exams and taking tests. So the concept of using that same experience and expertise in building some sort of video to video interactive service, initially for seniors who are growing more and more becoming isolated in our communities, that's what kind of was the beginning thought process, was how could I take my skills and try to bring a smile and try to alleviate some of that isolation. And then COVID hit. So that was January and February. I had some momentum in 2020, and then COVID hit. And I guess in my mind, I thought launching something like this would be seen as taking advantage of the situation. So I kind of put it on pause. And then I got convinced in the last 4 months that it's the exact opposite. Now's the time. People need this. So I regenerated myself towards the idea. We started. I started working with some other folks, and the momentum started happening. And Sidecar, the brand, was born, and we loved it. And we loved the concept of kind of hop along, get with the driver, get with a host, jump in that sidecar with a bunch of other folks that have the same interest and take a journey. Maybe it's travel, maybe it's just a discussion topic that you're interested in. Maybe it's being connected with the 8 other llama farmers across Canada because you want to talk about that. Anything to get video interaction and discussion. So that's really what it was all about, was trying to do good but put a business angle to it, because at some point there's got to be a way to pay the hosts and be a real business. But it really wasn't based on a profit incentive as much as a fun passion project to try to leverage some of the skills and deal with this growing isolation in our communities.
Well, and I think, I mean, based on our personal experiences, and you and I have talked about this, just taking care of parents lately, you're seeing the isolation firsthand. And there's many days in my career where I go into a retirement residence and I've signed in Sarah Logue, and the last person who signed in 22 days ago was Sarah Logue. And so when COVID hit for us, the panic button was certainly, how are we going to reach out to some of our residents? How are we going to stay connected with them? And some of the pleas of calls just saying, Sarah, please come see us. We miss you. They just want bodies and they just want to have a conversation. And it's so hard because we think about too often seniors and, their health care, their physical care, their medical care, but their mental care. I mean, I enjoy my group so much because they have so much experience to share and they're so willing to chat about it. And, they can give you so much history and flavor to whatever daily events are happening. So I think that's, if you can maybe give us an example, like I know Sidecar is really unique because it's not just me having to try to Zoom, with one person. It's about creating these groups that create, a commitment. Like if I know I have to be there at 10 a.m. to meet with the rest of my group, it's a lot more exciting than just watching me talk on video for an hour.
Absolutely. And I think that is one of our challenges, is trying to find those topics of interest that are that inspire you to want to be in that group. And then there's other people who want to participate on different levels. I mean, some people want to really talk it up, and others may just want to sit back. So that's why we're
Mhm.
structuring things that are, just listen for enjoyment, but know that you're there live, which is very different than listening for enjoyment to a YouTube video.
It is.
If you listen for enjoyment, but the musician that's doing some old Elvis songs live online has only 10 or 20 of you listening live, and that musician says, "Hey Mary, do you have any requests?" Mary might say, "No, no, you're doing great." But Mary might say, "Hey, can you play Burning Love from Elvis?" And the musician says, "Mary, great, we're going to do that right now for you." And by utilizing people's names and just acknowledging that they're live and they're with you is a totally different mental health exercise than just telling someone to watch a pre-recorded video, because that's what they're interested in. So I think that's, so whatever the topic is, so it could be a small discussion group around a book that everybody's interested in. It could be a book club. Um,
Mm.
it could be you want to come with me to Costa Rica and talk to the guy I met that sells surfboards on the beach, but knows everything I've ever imagined that I could ever learn about world religions. And you think, this is fantastic. I could talk to this gentleman for 8 hours. Imagine if I could bring that to people who were also interested in world religions and wanted to talk about that. And you could go around the world. You could go to farming tours. You could go back to my original example, is there's men in a lot of our senior residences and long-term care homes who they struggle with the recreational programming that's available, because a lot of it's not men relevant. And I hear that all the time, is some of the men don't have recreation. And so men want to talk about what men like. And that might be farming, that could be fishing and hunting, that could be travel and adventure. It could be anything that's specific. And if we could figure out a way through our network to slowly grow this, where we have a network and understand what your interests and topics are, then we can go out and find the ideal, energetic, fun host and put the 10 of you together, put the 6 of you together. Um, we can do this with subscriptions. We can have family members give coupons and gift certificates to their parents and say, "Hey, why don't you join these 5 sessions, because these are great for you." It can evolve in so many different ways. And I talked about saying that we could even have morning live on Sidecar, where groups get together, maybe 10 of them on video, and they discuss the day's events from the previous day. Sometimes it's tough for people in isolation just to get out of bed. And I think if they know they've got some interaction with an interesting topic, then I think that's good. And if the reservation is, oh, it's strangers, it's video, you have to understand this is a trusted, secure. You could turn your video off if you want and just participate on audio, but still listen to the host and watch the host. There's different ways. You have controls there, but none of this is being recorded. You're always on live, and then that's it. But you do have to be comfortable to say at some point, you've got to trust that it's just a video of you chatting. And as long as there's no recording and you understand the privacy policy and you understand the risk that we would have if we recorded, you start letting go of some of those worries and some of those apprehensions. And you say, maybe this is time for me just to give it a try. Or maybe it's time for me to recommend a topic that I don't see Sidecar has, because I think there's got to be other people. Maybe I want to know my 10 other expatriates across Canada that are also feel isolated, that are from Ireland. And maybe Sidecar can find a great Irish host in Ireland, in our home country. Once a week on Fridays at 3 p.m., we all get together and talk about what's going on in Ireland. Wouldn't that be fantastic? So hopefully that answers your question, but that's kind of what we're looking for when we're trying to organize these get-togethers, these meetups, is large groups, listen for enjoyment, small discussion groups, travel and adventure, ask an expert and maybe learn something. Maybe it's education related, and then maybe it's things like every morning certain things happen for certain groups. So if you're talking
It all
6 months from now,
sounds
who knows?
amazing, right? Like, it sounds amazing to
Yeah.
be able to connect people. I guess if I was learning about this for the first time, one of my interests would be who's selecting, where are we finding these hosts? You start to dip into, like, we have a llama farmer, we have a surfer, we have an expatriate, and it's such a broad spectrum of people. It'd be interesting to know, can I vote on something, or can I contribute an
Sure.
idea to help pick a host? Can I recommend a host? And maybe you haven't come to that process yet, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there in selecting hosts. Like, have you thought about where these people are coming from?
I have a new idea on how to do this every time I get out of the shower. Every day I got 20
I
new
love that.
ideas. So the fact that you're already spinning out this in this first time discussion with me on it tells you where this could all go, right? So the answer to your question is yes, yes, yes. It's just a matter of prioritizing how do we do it. But absolutely, the momentum will happen when we get good at soliciting feedback on topics of interest, and we can then find a way to match those folks across the country. Doesn't have to be in your community. And we can also get a great host. And our hosts are managed by us. They have to run within certain privacy and protocols. But we want our hosts just to be really passionate about this whole idea of bringing interest to isolation. So all that infrastructure we can't wait to do. We've got some long-term care partnerships where, one of the things I'd like to do just in long-term care and in senior residences is gather that database of interests of the people who are in those and start matching that up to events and hosts. Because as you can imagine, in long-term care and senior residences, they can't bring people in from the outside like they used to. They sometimes can't even bring more than 4 people together, even in a group in the home. So imagine them having, which they all do now, they've all now got iPads. My father's in long-term care. I can request that they deliver an iPad to him at 3 p.m. to be on the farming call. And that's fantastic. And he can't wait. He's excited. And he gets to talk to somebody that's got some interest that he's interested in, instead of, watch TV or go do an exercise class down the hall with 6 women. And that's not knocking that process, but it just, for a man in that situation, that's tough. So how do we help him? So as you can see, I've got even further passion now because recently my father's been put into long-term care. So I also see even further isolation that's really painful. So, but I will say, again, that process, I can't wait to have more people join our team to be able to work on that sort of thing. Is how we gathering the data, how we making this so that everybody has an option to have input into what topics they'd like to hear, and then we can work with them to try to match other people up to them. So all that is a yes, 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 and I hope it evolves that way because I think it'd be great.
Well, and I mean, we've been teaching one-on-ones and small classes not just to our senior adults, but to many people on how to use Zoom, how to use Microsoft Teams, because these are becoming our mainstream that people are expecting you to be able to use. And I'll get even, someone as young as 55 or our age, right? That's going, Sarah, do you know how to use Microsoft Teams? Do you know how to load Zoom? So I think the appeal of the topics and the hosts and the accountability, I hate to use such a strong word, but it is nice when you're in isolation to know, hey, Rebecca out in Ireland is waiting to hear my story. I used to live 15 minutes from her. How are you going to help people? I mean, you just gave a great example about your dad with the iPad. How are we going to help our clients and our connections in these senior homes actually get on to these events? Like, how's the easy?
That is the number one challenge right now is technology. So how, I send out test links to some folks that I know that are some of the senior folks and who are already good on technology. And by the way, here's the crazy stat about this. This was back to your original question, which is why did this idea incubate and come to fruition? Is there are 55 million, if we just use the over 65 crowd, which is not what this is just about. I mean, it's really good for anybody in isolation. But the over 65 crowd in North America is now 60 million strong. Of that 60 million, in excess of 60% indicate some sort of loneliness / isolation. So we also, now we know there's a need.
Yeah,
where
that's
the
a big need.
It's a huge need. Now where the really cool convergence is to what you and I are doing right now is that 75% now of that number have been on the internet, which is crazy. Cool. We wouldn't have been able to say that 5 years, 10 years ago. So 5 years from now, I don't think it's going to be, everyone's going to know click to get into a video meeting and it'll be easy, right? But right now, our biggest challenge is if we're going to use Zoom like we're using today, or Microsoft Teams or Google Meets or any of these new video platforms, all of them still have the challenge of downloading something so that they can use it. And so that is what I'm actually really interested in, even from what you said, is one of our number one challenges. How do we broadly get people trained on just getting access to Zoom as an example and letting them know it's free? I have to pay for it because I'm a host, but everybody else that wants to join my Zoom meeting, it's free. You just have to go through the steps, and maybe it's a family member that helps them. Maybe it's better videos like you're creating for your clients on how to use Zoom and how to get it downloaded. But we got a huge initiative right now in the first year to try to get as many people more technically competent. And then the sky's the limit. They know they can get into anything. And if you go on to our scheduler, and I believe we're going to put on the screen down here somewhere where it says www.sidecarlive.com, there's a scheduler. And on that scheduler, you can look at all the different events. You just hit sign up, put your name. You can just put your first name if you want and your email. And we just want to be able to then send you the invite with the link to the meeting on that day. And we're not going to share your information. We don't. The host will never know anything private about other than your first name. They don't know your last name. They don't know anything. And but we got to get you in there and get you confident with scheduling. And maybe the first time you do it, you bring a friend because you feel more confident with someone else. Maybe you bring a family member, maybe your son, daughter, or your parents. And so I think it's just going to take some time for people to get used to, oh, this is easy to pick an event. I scroll through the schedule. I like this event. Or I've got an idea now that I looked at this exercise event. Where do I click send the feedback? And here's the button. It says contact us. You fill it out and say, why don't you do exercise this way? That would be a great idea. And you send that off to us, and hopefully someone responds to you fairly quickly and says, that's a great idea. We've now got that as one of our priorities. So all that familiarity with the technology is absolutely a challenge, but just imagine how far we've come. So 5 years from now, we won't even be talking about this. We'll think, remember when we thought it would be hard to get into a Zoom meeting for someone who is, just reasonably technical? It'll be simple for everybody, right? But we've got that challenge today, and we're trying to meet that isolation challenge today, not wait for 5 years, because there is a major mental health issue going on with isolation right now. We think the fact that I can tell you right now, I could call 10 new hosts and every one of them would say yes. Like, I have had nobody that I've asked to host, no expert. I have nobody that's turned me down. Nobody, because everybody understands that this is something that we can all do as a broader community, as a global community, to help people in isolation.
It's amazing. And I do think people want to reach out and reconnect, whether they're a host or they're, a participant. They just want that connection. And I think you're right. Like as you were describing, like hitting the button on my screen, I'm thinking about how hard it was for me to transition from turning my car on with a key to turning my car on with a button, right? Like now if someone hands me a key to a car, I'm like lost, right? So I think mainly the first piece would be taking that fear element out. And that's what we've been finding with people. And then just showing them how easy it is, right? They answer their phone. I mean, I was with one of my 94-year-olds yesterday, and watching her use her iPhone was like the most amazing thing I'd seen all week. It was so cool. So as long as that's easily accessible, and maybe some of your first calls are, look how easy this is to access, right? And look how easy it is for you to communicate like this.
And it's organic. It's organic. I think once, if my mother's confident, then she'll tell her two friends, and she'll say, you got to go through it and walk you through it. And once you've walked them through getting into a Zoom meeting once or twice, now my mother would say, it's easy. The first time, she might have been a little frustrated with it, right? So I think we'll get there, and we'll get there through our organic growth. We'll get there through kind of a viral way of people saying, come on, do this, come on, do this, come on, do this. This is great. And the trust and the security of it all will make it so that there's no apprehension there as well. And it's going to take some time, though. We're gonna be walking on this launch. The site is live. We've got X number of hosts. I just feel it's going to exponentially grow, but there'll be like a tipping point, and that tipping point will be related to the awareness of it, but also be related to confidence in the technology.
And I mean, you keep talking about the projection of where this can go, and it really can expand, to all levels. You watch students right now online with their teachers. So it doesn't have to be specifically age oriented, but it is about a mental, stability and a good feel vibe at the end of the day. So if I said 5 years from now, is there an outlook to that when you get out of the shower and it's hitting you in the head that goes, yes, this is where we're going to be?
Well, I learned a lesson in the last company that I grew over the years with the business experience, that nowadays it's a funny thing to talk about 5-year plans, because everything changes so fast, specifically with technology. So I can't even envision the simplicity of where technology is going to be in the next 2 to 3 years, let alone 5. So I don't know, related to what the opportunities are to do this even differently than we're doing it today 5 years from now. What I would hope in 5 years, though, that we look back and we have thousands of hosts and thousands of people worldwide who, whether it's because of isolation or just any other mental health reason, that they want to be in active discussions with peers and people that are interested in the same topic, no matter how crazy it is. I know sometimes I get crazy with the analogies, but I said, if you're the type of person who likes to drink coffee only on Wednesdays at 2 p.m., the reality with the internet is you could probably find 10 more people that have that same crazy feeling that they like to do that, or they only like to read this kind of book on these days. That sounds really extreme. My point is we should have found thousands of topics that unite groups of people with experts and hosts to facilitate those discussions over the next 5 years. And if we do that, this launch will have been successful. And I'm assuming there's going to be copycats, because I just can't believe, personally, I couldn't believe in people I talked to, try to find something like this. I can't. I don't see any implementation of it. And part of it is because people believe it's too hard to get a lot of people technically savvy enough to get into the meetings. And I don't believe it. I think we're going to be able to do that fairly easily. So I see this just impacting, tens of thousands of people worldwide. And how cool it would be if you've got a group of people from different countries that you regularly socialize with because you were connected through Sidecar. I think it'd be very cool. And one of the last things I'd say in 5 years, which I think would be really neat, is some of our attendees that come in early as just attendees and participants become hosts.
Definitely.
So if you're a senior who's feeling isolated, feeling like it's tough to get out of the bed in the morning, but you think you've got a lot to contribute and you think you could carry a discussion, imagine now you look forward every week to actually hosting and giving some of your wisdom and some of your life lessons learned in a certain topic. How rewarding would that be? And you couldn't have done that 5-10 years ago. You can now reach the world with some of your experiences because people are interested and they sign up for your topic. I mean, I think that would be fantastic too if we could do that for some of our retired and isolated population.
Oh, you're creating the connectivity that we're all missing, right? And we're missing it at every level. So if you can provide that back to people, I mean, the idea of one person who becomes very active, pulling in a group, and as you mentioned, organically training people how to use this and showing them how easy the accessibility is, they're going to become hosts. They're going to be, banner wavers to say, this is why you should try it. And it's just going to create that, again, that just connectivity and accountability to know I do need to wake up in the morning and I need to log in because, Rick's talking about my favorite, whatever, right. Coffee, whatever it might be. And I think when you jog the experiences of so many of our adult seniors, they're just incredible. I get lost in their conversations, and it would be nice to see that shared again, where I think even before COVID, we were losing that connectivity between the generations. So
Great point. So we have the life lessons learned. I have a mix in that very first pilot session. I have a mix of seniors with a couple of 20 somethings.
Perfect.
And I reached back out to the 20 something and I said, why do you want to? They said, I want to hear what they say. So I want to hear what the seniors say about their best life lessons learned in a discussion. Like as a 20-year-old, how valuable is that to me? And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I never thought I was targeting 20-year-olds, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Any final words or, words of advice or direction for people that may want to join this or contribute or even help with the development?
www.sidecarlive.com. Contact us, fill out the form that says, here's my ideas, here's what I'm looking to do, browse our schedule, recommend this to one of your family members who you think it would benefit. We're looking for ideas, we're looking for hosts, and just peruse, get involved. I think this is a really cool initiative, and it's really easy. The website, I think, is pretty straightforward. At least to reach out and contact us, you'll definitely get a call back within the day. If you can, teach a senior or teach somebody Zoom. If you can, because if you open up the world of Zoom right now, why Zoom? I find Zoom stable. I find there's a lot of features of it that I like. I do find it easy to use once it's been installed. And like I said, it's just stable and reliable, which is what's really important for us right now. But tomorrow, the technology that we use as a platform could change. So that the technology platforms is quite irrelevant. But everything else about people process is going to be the same. So just get people interested, especially if you know they're isolated. Talking to you again, Sarah, at the beginning, you know you've got people just in your area, in your business, in your community, who you believe, wow, I mean, they could benefit from not only me talking to them live on video, but if they were part of a discussion group on a topic of their choice. You know there's people out there right now that you could probably name. So let's get them comfortable with the concept. And right now, at least till the end of February, everything's free. Because we're just trying stuff out. So it's a great time to try it is in the month of February, because all the sessions are free right now.
That's amazing.
And I don't know how we're going to monetize it, by the way. I haven't figured it out. I got to make it so it's fair. We got to pay our hosts at some point. It's not full philanthropy, or I'd never get this off the ground. But we'll figure out fair packages. Whether it's $5 a session or $10 a session, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But right now, you can try for free and then slowly figure out what kind of subscription or per event price makes sense for you. And we just got to get you confident in it.
It all sounds amazing. It's the timing of it is absolutely brilliant, and it's lovely knowing who you are as a person behind it. So it is a very comforting feeling to know that these are going to be incredible speakers, and that all you're trying to do is unite people that need somewhere to feel like there's other people listening and other people communicating with them. I cannot wait to expose this to our clients. They're going to love it, and they're going to love that they're not counting on someone having to walk through the door to talk to them every day. It's spectacular.
Well, that's awesome. And I appreciate you doing this interview, because I wanted someone that could carry it the way you're carrying it, make it informative, and hopefully this is a useful conversation for people to be a bird on the wall, listen to this casual conversation. And now I know, by the way, that you want to be a host.
I absolutely want to be a host. Yes,
I wrote this down. It's recorded, so you can't back out now.
No backing out. I'll be a free host.
No, that's good. That's awesome. All right, Sarah. Well, thank you very much for doing this. And
no problem.
We'll talk soon.
Take care, Rick.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.